Eb, I have a question for you.
Yup.
What does the term toxic masculinity mean to you?
Ooh.
That's a good question. I would have to say the double standards that we men place on both ourselves and women and society places on us that doesn't apply to women.
I like that.
I like that definition too.
That went deep.
Mm-hmm. Go on, Eb.
Oh, you want more?
I got that dish. Got that. I got that dish. 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 I got that dish. I got that dish. That dish.
Hey, y'all. It's Onika.
And it's your girl B.
And you are dishing with Dainty Dish. And we have Eb on the mic today as well. How you doing, Eb?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here. I'm enjoying this session. I've been enjoying bonding with you guys. So,
Aww.
I feel special. And Youngs, how you doing?
I'm okay. You know me. Same old thing, different day.
I'm Toronto Road salty today, guys, and I'm gonna talk about it.
First of all,
you know what?
First of all, wait. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I didn't even wait for you to ask me. I just want to get into it. Like, have you ever met a person that just rubbed you the wrong way?
Someone that grinds your gears.
That grinds your gears and just frosts your cookies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you ever met that? I met someone recently who I sat down with, and they talked over me as well as interrupted me when I was speaking.
Serves you right. That's what you do to everyone.
That's what I used to do.
Karma is in many forms.
That's what I used to do. I feel like since I've been on this podcast, I've learned to actually listen.
Yeah, that's true. But karma doesn't just cease when you learn your lesson. What did you hear?
Well, it should.
It doesn't. So continue, though.
Yeah, I'm just a little salty about it. It was a very challenging situation, but, I think I was supposed to learn a life lesson from it.
Which you did.
Which I did.
Don't talk over people.
Don't talk over people, and I met my match. Sorry, I got a little bit of a cold today.
Oh, goodness.
So, Ab, I have a question for you. I have another question. I have a bunch of questions for you, actually. Okay. Tell us a little bit about your podcast.
okay, so my podcast is called, it's also on YouTube. I'm on all forms of social media. It's called Black Nerds Talk. And essentially, it is nerd therapy. So I set it up around March. I'm still exploring with the name a little bit. I don't want to, exclude, certain groups. But essentially, I've always taken away life lessons from the anime I've watched, from the comic books I've read, from the video games I've played. And I feel like that's a medium that we haven't really explored. And we're always, like in your podcast, there's a lot of conversation about mental health. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we can take a lot of lessons away from, Avengers. You cried from Avengers Endgame, right?
I did.
You to watch it, right?
I did too.
Exactly. Yeah. I took what led to me being in a relationship was actually. We'll talk about it later, but that decision that Captain America made at the end to go back in time and spend his time with Peggy Carter, that actually had a big impact on me in terms of how I process being in relationships and doing something for myself. So
he made a good choice, by the way.
Yeah,
I would have made that choice too.
I would have done it too. We are going to get so deeply into this in our All Kinds of Crazy December edition. Eb is going to be coming back on the show. Actually, it's just going to be taping again with us. This is how we roll. We double tape. So he's going to be recording that episode with us in the next little while. And we're going to get all into what's going on with Captain America and what happened with Tony Stark.
I can't believe that franchise just ended like that.
Honestly, I'm in pain. Don't talk about it. We'll save it. So I want to start a new segment. I've done this before where I've opened the show with some interesting news stories that have to do with the topic of the day. But I wanted to make it a more regular occurrence. So I'm calling it the News Flash. News Flash. So I'm just going to start with some just interesting stories. If you guys have some feedback or want to talk about it with me, commentary, let me know.
Yeah.
So there was one article last week. It's okay not to be okay. Mental health campaign puts spotlight on men's mental health. So it's Active Minds Western at Western University launched its 4th annual Men's for Mental Health campaign earlier this month. Mm-hmm. The campaign provides a platform on the club's social media page for male students to share their mental health struggle. And this year's campaign focuses on diversity, acknowledging that it's even harder for men with diverse backgrounds to talk about mental health.
No, is this all anonymous?
Yes, I believe it is.
All right. Well, looking at me. So
Yeah, I was I thought you had something to say. I'm like, let me.
No.
I'm not.
How would I process this? There's a lot of experiences I've gone through in terms of mental health. Actually, I'll just go into right now. Is specifically today, I decided not to go to work because last Sunday, my girlfriend slept on my shoulder. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, she usually sleeps on my chest. So the reason I'm going to this is because I think it caused some damage to my rotator cuff.
Mm-hmm.
You move suddenly, right, with that heavy dead weight. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now, I was ignoring the pain for the whole week, and I was able to manage it. Mm-hmm. But now it's gotten to the point where it's become what's the opposite of acute pain? It's a
throbbing sensation.
Yeah, exactly.
Randomly.
It was just a little bit sore. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I was and I've gone through various forms of pain in my life. We all have. That's a human experience, right? But eventually, as of I think Saturday night kind of started, and then more so last night, the pain became so acute it woke me up out of my sleep. My brain was literally just yo,
pain
I don't
here.
know. Not even just when your brain, when you wake up from pain, your brain's something's going on here. Wake up. We figure this out. There's something going on right here. Fix it.
I mean,
that's
not
why
the
you're
same, but that's labor pains to me. That's all I thought.
Well, it's the same thing.
time.
Your brain's just something's going on. So I don't know what it is. Figure it out. I'm just letting you know something's wrong. That's why you're not sleeping. So that woke me up twice, and I was just okay, now I actually need to look into it. And then even more so, I had to really kind of self-reflect because I had work. I kind of have work that morning. Kind of ties into the stuff I told you about personally. And so I had to ask myself, because I really didn't want to go into work, and I had to really reflect. I was you have to take care of yourself. You live on your own, so on and so forth. But I'm just first of all, you have sleep apnea. So, and it's still not I haven't still had fully diagnosed and deal with it, find a way of dealing with it. For those who don't know what sleep apnea is, snoring. When you snore, because people are what's sleep apnea? Is this some sort of insomnia? No, it's you snore.
Snoring.
When you're snoring, as much as it looks cool in anime and cartoon shows and whatever, when you're snoring, you talk about with the bubble in the nose. And, you're actually when people are snoring, you're actually not deep sleep. You're not breathing, and because you're not breathing, you're not in deep sleep, and because you're not in deep sleep, you're not sleeping properly. You're kind of dying. So
to put it,
Mildly.
in layman's terms.
Yeah,
you're
because you're
kind
not
of
breathing.
dying.
Yeah, you're kind of because your brain has to be oh my gosh, we're dying. Do something, and because you're doing something, you're not in deep sleep. So I have sleep apnea, and on top of that, I kept waking up from the shoulder pain. So the most I probably got was 2 to 3 hours of sleep. So I had to really ask myself, I'm
is it worth it to
Exactly.
go in and be tired and
exactly? And on top of that, I can't fully move my arm.
hashtag personal day. It's a real thing. Take them.
Exactly. So I had to really
Mental
be
health day.
it's okay. I had to really tell myself it's okay that you don't go into work. You're not less of a man. You're not less of a man to go to your doctor again and let him know, even though you just saw him about your shoulder pain. Even I'm not going to wait till December 5th to go see my doctor. I'm going to go to a drop-in clinic tomorrow because I'm just I'm 30. Yes, I don't look like it, but I don't heal the same way as I used to. And then the thing with a lot of men that we go through is we ignore X or Y pain.
Y'all don't like doctors.
Essentially. But because we always feel like we can handle it, right? Or it'll move on. Let me just take some painkillers. And I've taken about 3 Advils. And then, it gets to a point where you're 45 and all of a sudden your arm doesn't move properly. And it's well, if you were 30 and you actually got the rotator cuff checked out, you probably would be able to move your arm in full rotation, but now you can't. So now you got to live with that for the rest of your life. So it's those sort of things that I really had to process. And so I was like, you know what, like, tell your girlfriend you have the shoulder pain. That's the reason you didn't get a haircut today. That's the reason I look kind of scruffy. And then, and then also take the time to like actually like I ended up having to take a nap in the middle of the day, and I didn't do much because of my shoulder pain. You know, like a part of me would be like, oh, my dad would be like, you know, you need to get stuff done. And I'm like, it's true, you're right, Dad.
But you need a person.
But like, I can't move my left arm. So. Be great if I could, but I can't. So this is sort of thing that like
that's
I had to
the
really
worst
process.
though. Like
What,
when
not
like
moving arm or your
no,
parents?
I mean like both of that.
Okay.
But I mean like in general that like people automatically assume that guys are just supposed to tough it out.
Yeah,
And just, like,
it's
go
a
to
part of
work.
the whole toxic masculinity rinse cycle. Like it's a part of it, and you know these are the things that people are trying to do in the world to combat them. So, but we're definitely gonna get to that after my news flash.
Oh, go. Go.
Men struggle to keep friends, and it's hurting their mental health. Men often have fewer friends as they age. According to a 2017 UK Movember, because it is Movember this month, guys. We'll talk about that in a minute. Organization, men lack social connectedness. Studies show 1 in 10 men can't remember the last time they connected with a close friend, and over half have less than 2 friends that they would discuss serious topics with. So yeah, like men, why don't men have friends?
I don't have many friends. I have a very select few of friends. So I mean, is that really a man thing? But I mean, you know.
Do you have deep connections with those friends though?
Yeah. Yeah. They're not like someone I just picked up off the road. Like I've known them.
Do they know like your insecurities and so on and so forth? Sorry for me.
Yeah,
asking
no.
questions.
Yeah. I would think so. Like I'd call them blindly and be like, XYZ is going on. I'd share. I'd share.
You,
I like the
you
reflection.
disclose.
I disclose. I think I do.
You would disclose.
Okay,
I
sometimes.
express.
Yeah, like sometimes I might not, but like that's just a personal it's a personal problem if I don't. Like, but if I can't, if I could, if I wanted to. So I guess, but can't do you have friends like you?
So like me and my friends are like exceptionally close. Like even
Yeah.
Saturday, I think. Yeah, it was Saturday where in our WhatsApp group chat we're talking about our.
You have a WhatsApp group chat. See,
What
is your news story talking about?
I mean, it's just it's.
No, but she's not wrong though.
I'm not wrong. Thank you. Thank you.
'cause, like,
Okay,
yeah,
continue.
Like I've been told from like women, because I have a lot of female friends too. So I've been told by women, they're like, you guys are really close. I didn't like a lot of girls I've dated, like even like this is one of my homeboys, like we're so close that like people are just like, are y'all gay?
Automatically,
That is the toxicness right there. It's just toxic.
To be fair, to be in their defense,
You're like, in all fairness,
It's a
in all
bromance.
fairness, no, it's not wrong. But there was this one point. This is like a sidetrack. I was working at a store. I don't want to say the name before, like it gets all like canceled.
That's okay.
Yeah, I was walking in a store, and it was they sell like Halloween blah blah stuff, right? And I saw these 2 guys and hang out, and they're really close. I'm like, oh, they're like me and my boy, right? And I was watching them, and then I was just like, wait, no, they're not as close to me. They're closer.
You guys are.
Oh, so that's the only level beyond me and my boy right now. The only higher level is that. That's the next step. That's the next step. That's the only way for
I'm
us.
not trying to take it there. He's not trying to take it there. But if
That is
take it there.
That is the
That's
only
the next
point.
step.
That's the only other step.
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious.
But like we were just in our WhatsApp group chat, we were talking about like our experiences from our childhood and our parents, and saying things to us and how that's influenced the way we perceive ourselves and how to build a better connection with our parents. So like we're really, 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 really close. Like we have like
that's deep.
And we all been friends more or less since high school. Some of them have been added in recently, like in the last 5 or 6 years, but we've all been friends since high school. So like we all have like this deep bond with each other. And so I would say I'm a bit of an exception to that rule, but a lot of my youth, like, they don't know how to talk about their feelings. Like, I had to really get somewhere I'm just like, how do you feel Like, I know you're angry, but why are you angry? Why does that make you angry? It took them a really long time to get to one where, like, you know what? I'm upset. I'll tell you why I'm upset. And that took a really long time for you to get to them to that point.
I think, like, especially with teenagers, like, that's a thing. Like, any, like, male, female, like, it's a thing that, like, we won't explain why we're upset because it's, like, adolescence. You know, like, you're going through your own... Everyone thinks, like, woe is me. I'm so woe. I'm going through my own things. But especially for guys, I feel like it's really worse. Like, everyone likes to say females have their hormones and their female problems. But, like, I could see how that would be a problem.
I mean, if you look at, like, as much as I love anime and video games, et cetera, if you look at the posters of, like, these things or the game cover art or whatever, you never see someone, you know, pointing like this, right? Like, they're pointing to fingers and they're smiling. Or even, like, you know, if you're looking at, like...
what are those posters called?
Propaganda poster.
Nothing looks like a propaganda poster nowadays.
Or even, like, you look at, you know, when you're seeing advertised, you know, like, the last, like, Game 6, Toronto versus Golden State, right? It's not going to be Kawhi being like, he's not going to be like doing his laugh and smiling and everything, where he's going to be like angry focused or yelling. Like, you never really see a guy smiling in posters, and even if you see him smiling, you're like, this guy's a weirdo. Why is he
a psychopath? Like, why is he smiling from ear to ear?
Yeah. Or even like, you know, if you look at Instagram posts, the one, I would say the person who's like the template for Instagram posts is like Drake. I don't see a picture of Drake smiling. So,
he's sour face.
Exactly. You know, he's contemplated.
Sour
he's looking
Y'all
down.
leave Drake alone.
Sour face.
He's in his feelings. You know Drake.
Truly.
His facial expressions for his pictures look the same as Batman.
That's Batman.
Like monotone. Like
monotone. They're looking down. They're downtrodden. They're self-reflecting. Like, it can't be that bad.
All his albums look like that too. So,
but both of them are driving Lambos. Like, it can't be that hard.
Life can't be that tough, Drake. If you're listening, I know you are.
Oh my gosh, I won't even expose. Yep,
all
probably.
Right. The changing landscape of masculinity and men's mental health in the workplace. I'm going to try to get our good friend Alex back on the show. Eb, I might invite you on as well and kick you off, Bianca, and just have the three of us on the show talking about men's mental health in the workplace.
I'm appalled by that.
You can come and support. We'll probably do a double taping that day anyway, so you'll have to show up.
Kick me off. No.
But, so I was talking about Movember earlier. Movember raises awareness for diseases and illnesses specifically related to men. So things like prostate cancer, testicular cancer, but it also deals with mental health, men's mental health, and men's suicide. Mark Hedstrom, the executive director of the U.S. chapter of Movember, actually made a statement saying that 80,000 individuals take their lives globally, and 500,000 of them are men. 800,000, take their lives globally, and 500,000 are men, which is 75%. Like, that is...
I'm sorry, come again? But of the world's population?
Of the world's population yearly. 800,000 people take their own lives. 500,000 of them are men.
Wow. That's
a pretty high number. Some of the other statistics that they quoted in the article were 58% of men believe society expects them to be emotionally strong and not weak in front of others. And 34% of U.S. men fear their jobs could be at risk if they discuss their mental health concerns at work. So, this is really, really toxic. This is really like, I don't.
It's a lot to unpackage.
Yeah,
it's a lot to unpackage because what are we teaching our young boys and our young men?
Yeah.
You know, are we teaching them that toughness is the way to go, that being aggressive is the way to go, that violence is the answer, that you should never show your emotions or how you're feeling because it's weakness and it makes you feminine? Like, these are the things that are surrounding toxic masculinity. Mm-hmm. Like, what are we teaching our young boys?
Ooh, okay.
Listen, honestly, I'll say one thing. When it comes to toxic masculinity, I think we can probably most likely blame the older generation. I'm just saying.
It's a generational curse.
It is. It's a generational curse, like, when it comes to that. Because, like, you always hear that, like, boys are supposed to be strong and they're...
Boys don't cry.
Boys don't cry. Like, you see a boy crying, like, especially in West Indian cultures, like, what are you crying for? You know, like, I'll give you something to cry
African
about.
cultures as well.
Like, you know, like, those things are... It comes from within the home first, as much as it might be a big thing. So when you say such big numbers, it's like, what were the parents doing? Like, what were the adults around these boys, these men doing?
And it's been proven that it's a nurture thing, not a nature thing. Because when
Of course.
boys and girls are first born, when they're little itty bitty babies, they're the same. Their brains function the exact same way. They're no different. It's these societal, like, norms that are placed on them that cause them to have these, like, just completely, like, malnourished. I don't even know if that's not the word I'm looking for, but it's like a malnourished sense of, like, stunted. Thank you, sense of who they are, because of these norms and these behaviors that are being, you know, just pumped into them on a daily basis. Guys have their own set of problems that I didn't even, like, before doing the research on this, didn't even realize. I'm not coming at toxic masculinity as like feminist or like a anti-men, you know, kind of stance. That's not where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a place of genuine concern
And willing to learn what's going on.
with boys and men. Yeah.
What sort of problems did you read and discover, if I may ask? You said you discovered or learned some male-specific stuff.
Let's see.
I see that book. It's full of notes.
Well,
Full of notes.
the biggest thing that happened, I guess, this year for men and boys was in January 2019. The American Psychological Association basically came up with guidelines for psychological practice for boys and men. So it's basically 10 principles of psychology. And they're based around things like, they discuss topics like awareness of bias and stereotype, especially in males of color, understanding power, privilege, and sexism, risky sexual behavior, and promoting positive fatherhood. Like, these are things that you think that you know something about, right? Like,
not necessarily.
Not that you know something about them, but more like you're aware that they're happening.
Listen,
in this
Mama
world.
always used to say common sense is not that
always
common.
that common. Yeah, so things like privilege, power, and sexism when it comes to men in society. That was like guideline number 3 that they talked about. You know, with privilege for some men, not all men. I mean, I think men in a patriarchal society, which is a society run by men.
We have a man right here.
We have
so,
a man
like,
right here.
He could tell you.
He might be a black man. You know, we have 2 men right here. Hey,
Yeah,
Al.
2.
Hey,
Yeah,
Al.
yes.
There's another black man. So they might not, in the realm of manhood, experience privilege on a regular basis. But in the realm of manhood in combination with womanhood, you're experiencing some sense of privilege. Like, when we look at things like how, you know, women make 75 cents on the dollar compared to men. Like,
I would actually... Okay, so now I'm going to interrupt. I'd have to disagree. There's a lot of things that I would say Elliot and I are privileged on, or that we benefit from
As a male.
For instance, like, I make this joke about it, and Elliot will understand what I'm talking about. Like, if we go outside and we're walking, we're safe. The only higher tier danger than us is multiple black men, and then the police,
the KKK,
and then the police. Like, those are like, I'm the highest level. Like, I'm not worried when I go outside. There's nothing. If anything, people are avoiding me, especially if I have my hood on. So, like, I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to think about, like, who's coming for me. The only thing I worry about is multiple black men. And because of the work I've done, if I see a bunch of black men, which are actually teenagers, because as long as you're like above 5'5", you're a 24-year-old black man. It's facts.
I want to laugh, but I'm like, I'm just gonna hold
So
up.
true.
But
so
like,
true.
if I see them walking down the street because of the stuff I've done, like every time I go out with my girl, she's always like, "You always know someone." So I know within this cluster of youth that I see, I know one of you. I know one of you, or I know
So
someone who knows one of you.
mind your P's and Q's.
It's essentially.
Mind
So
your P's
like,
and
I don't
Q's.
get worried. So, but that's typically what people are worried about. I'm the third highest tier. Black man, multiple black men, police.
Yeah, but with women, like
what-
I have to call my sister when I'm
Bingo.
walking down the street to get to my very dangerous neighborhood that I live in. Like I have to call my sister to protect me, from or my mom or my
Anytime o'clock at
cousin.
night, you know,
And it doesn't
anytime-
matter what time. If it's after dark, I'm scared. Like my keychain looks like brass knuckles. Like literally, there's 2 keys on my keychain that work, and everything else is just like garbage that I could use to like hit someone with if I need to. So
The
like you
keys are heavy.
you guys do have a sense of some privilege in the world. You know, it's definitely a
But what is the
safer
percentage though? Like they might experience some privilege,
I
but
don't
like
think you
what's
can-
the percentage of
But
privilege?
with that privilege, I think what the guideline is trying to say for traditional masculinity, and that's what it's also called. It's not just toxic masculinity; it's also known as traditional masculinity, where you have those traditional norms. But I think what the APA is trying to say is that with privilege comes power in certain respects.
Don't
And-
start quoting Spider-Man now. With privilege comes great responsibility.
No, it's
I
great.
heard
Great
it.
is with great power.
Yeah,
Don't
he's
get
like,
it twisted. Don't get it twisted.
don't even go there.
Forgive me.
Don't even
It's
go
okay.
there.
I'm playing
like-
this.
I felt
I'm
like
playing
it
this
was coming
Spider-Man
out.
game right now, so like
I'm like, I thought it was coming out. That's how
It's
I'm
okay,
like,
it's
she
okay.
tried to correct herself.
A for
Yeah.
effort. A for effort.
Yeah, it's just that like I think what they're trying to say is with privilege comes power, and whether you subscribe to sexism, which is the discrimination against women, it's almost like you silently subscribe to it. Like you're not necessarily like outwardly sexist, but
You're not pro.
you're not pro or anti-woman necessarily, but you're a part of the system that is affecting women in a non-positive way. Like you're
So
still
couldn't you
part of
say-
that
If I may
system.
interject with a quote, it's from. So you remember how you watched Captain America: Civil? Oh,
sorry, that was me.
You remember you watched the movie Captain America: Civil War? I think that was the
Yes.
one.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes from a comic book, Civil War, and Iron Man in the comic had a really good quote. It was, "It's not just good enough to be against something. You have to be for something."
That's what I was about to say. It's like if you're not against it, you're for it. I understand that you might feel, but you have to speak up to put your 2 cents in. Like you can't just say just because men don't speak up, they're for it.
I don't think it's that they're for it or they're against it. I think it's that they're just simply because it's unaware. Thank you. They're unaware because of the society that we live in. It's made it the norm. It's made it normal. It's made it normal for men to be strong and women to be weak. We might have movements, we might have feminism, we might have Me Too, we might have all of that, but we're still living in a man's world at the end of the day. Like that is what it is. And we're hoping to make it a better world where there's not that traditional masculinity, toxic masculinity fed to our youths, our young men, our young boys, right? So I had asked you both, and we did this all together to watch the Gillette commercial that came out. It actually came out in January. In January. But it's still getting a lot of like hype around it. I felt it was, so the whole concept of it was a response to toxic masculinity and the Me Too movement. So it was talking about things like bullying and catcalling and like just generally being an a-hole.
Boys will be boys.
Boys will be boys, like just generally being an a-hole. So I felt like is Gillette taking some responsibility for the years and years of toxicity that they pumped into our, our brains, over the television and via the internet? Maybe. Is this just another gimmick to sell razors?
Maybe.
Probably. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little cynical. Maybe I'm a little jaded. I just feel like Gillette's been around, I don't even know for how long. It's at least 37 years.
At least 2 decades.
At least 2 decades. Because I've been hearing about Gillette, the best a man can get, since I was a kid. Right now, it's the best man that you can be. And I'm like, looking at it like, you're about 25 years too late right now. Like,
listen, when did the term toxic masculinity come out, okay?
1980s. The 1980s.
Really?
It was
listen, it might have came out then.
Hold on, no. Was it the 80s or the 60s? Hold on, let me.
60s.
Probably
the 60s. The 1960s. There was a mythopoetic movement, and it was talking about toxic masculinity.
I will correct myself then. Even though it came out in 1960. Like, when did it become relevant? Only the last decade, probably.
Only the last, I would say
5. I would say 5 years.
Right?
I would say with Trump.
When he said he grabbed them.
When he said he grabbed boobies and grabbed other parts of women, I would say that's when we realized, okay, I think we got a problem, America. I think we got a serious, serious problem. I think we were on the periphery of understanding that there was a problem, like we were. But the funny thing is about this APA study, this guideline, is they have one for LGBTQ too. They've got one for women and girls. They've got one for transgenders, but they never thought to make one for boys and men, to a standard of practice for boys and men, because boys and men are the standard of practice. Like,
they've been for
many years in psychology, and psychiatry. They're the ones that do all the studies. It's usually white men that are involved in studies, boys or men. So they had been the standard for so many years, but then, things changed, things evolved, and, the women's movement happened, and people are starting to think about, other populations of individuals when it came to psychology and psychiatry and mental health. And, it turned into something completely different where we forgot about our boys and our men.
And we apologize.
Which kind of ties back into toxic masculinity in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really think about men because, they're fine. They're good.
But that's terrible. Like, I apologize. Like, I know my apology can't stretch for the all females, but like, I personally apologize for us females that we treat you the way that we treat you, men.
Yeah, like, I've had many experiences with women where, even within my family, I know that I would have been treated differently if I had different crotch area. Like, I know, like,
if you were of a different sex,
yeah, because
probably.
I'm very sensitive, and I'll tell people that, and even people are caught off guard when I say like, oh yeah, I'll kind of joke about it or make a statement. I'm like, yeah, I'm very sensitive.
I appreciate when guys could admit that they're sensitive. Like, if you could be open and honest, like, and just be 100.
Yeah, but it throws people off, and they're like, oh my
gosh. Of course, as it always says.
Are you gay? Like, that's what they think. That's what they think. I'm just saying what people think. I'm not thinking it. It's toxic.
Masculinity is real. Like, that's the first.
That's the first. Yeah. So it was saying that the 4 common areas of masculinity in American society are no sissy stuff. So men should avoid things feminine or associated with females other than sexual type things. The big wheel. Men should strive for success and achievement. Usually in a rather aggressive manner. The sturdy oak, men shouldn't show weakness and handle problems. They should handle their problems independently. You were being a sturdy oak all week, Eb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give him hell. Men should seek adventure and risk taking and use violence if necessary. So these are the branches on the tree of masculinity in America. These are the branches. What do we think?
I have to see it again to like really process.
Yeah. Tell the branches again one more time. So the people could hear, we could hear.
Help me more.
Mm-hmm.
Una momento. Just scrolling through my notes here. I'm not. I'm flipping a book.
And I was going to say,
it's like a regular book.
to touch on that point, though, as you were saying with they tell boys don't be sissies and things like that. Like I actually heard in the news the other day that Alicia Keys took her son to a nail salon with her.
Oh,
so she took her son to a nail salon with her, and she said, you know, like, do your nails, get whatever color you want, and like automatically I thought like a boy might be like clear, like, you know, like I'll clean my nails and do clear or whatever, but he wanted to do rainbow colors because he's like 8 or something like that. I can't remember exactly how old he is.
Makes sense.
So he said, you know, mommy, I want to do rainbow colors, and she did a video basically just explaining the situation, and then said that after he did his nails, he was like, no, mommy, I don't want it anymore. And she asked him why, and he was like, because people are gonna make fun of me for doing this because it's feminine, it's something. And she was just taking into consideration that even at a young age, he grasped the concept that there's feminine and masculine roles without being told that there's feminine and masculine roles. And she tried to help him understand that even though there are these things that society has pushed upon us, forced upon us, like you can do whatever you want and it doesn't make you a set standard. And I thought that was really cool. A lot of people had a lot to say about it because, you know, the Instagram world and the Facebook world and the internet.
of course they did.
But
Everyone has something to say about
when I
something.
seen it, I was like, I would, if I had a son, I got 2 girls. So if I had a son, I might not take them to the nail salon, but if I did and they decided to do that, it's just nail polish. Like, it's just a kid, you know? But, like, it's just crazy to think that, just as she said, like, a child grasps those concepts because, as you said earlier, like, it's fed to us from a young age. From babies, we come out the womb, we're just babies until someone teaches us otherwise. Right? So, just to touch on what you were saying.
Yeah, so I was saying earlier.
If I may add on that, as I'm processing
Go
it,
ahead.
I probably won't take my son to a nail salon.
Yeah, like,
but I
Probably
also
not.
like on surface level, I just think that's weird. Like to take him to a nail salon.
exactly.
But
You want a girl pick me, clearly.
Sorry.
I said she wants a girl pick me, clearly. That's
Yeah. And then the second level is I wouldn't also take my daughter either. Because if I were to look at it from like just a pure
unbiased,
humane perspective, it's the same thing. It falls into like this whole Instagram stuff where, you know, like how it kind of, what's what I'm looking for? It blurs the line of age.
It makes little girls look like grown ass women.
Exactly. And then
be real.
You already see it on Instagram where you have like, and I work with you, so like I've seen a lot of like my
Trust
youth, and
me.
I see how they post, and I'm just like, and
Listen,
I see the men that follow them. Just
I'm
like,
27 years old, and half the things that these 16, 15-year-olds doing, I couldn't even dare now. I dabbled in my foot in some things.
Some of the texts I've unfortunately seen, like I'm just like, grown women don't text me that.
That's what I'm saying.
So like on that perspective, I wouldn't take like you don't. Why are you putting on lipstick? Why are you going to nail salon?
I'm
why
scared for my daughters. Thank you for touching on this. I'm
You're a
scared.
kid. You're supposed to be a kid. You're not supposed to. You like irrespective of you being male or female, you don't need to know about nail polish. Like it's not of your world right now.
I have an
Play with
8-year-old.
toys.
I have
play with toys.
Thank you for saying that, because let's touch on it. So this female right here, talking about you, Onika Dainty, decided when my child was 5 or 6 years old, she was going to buy her nail polish. My daughter's 8 now. Okay. She always assumes that when she's going out, she needs nail polish, she needs this, she needs that. And I was so strongly against this when it happened, because exactly like you said, like, there needs to be some boundaries.
But I'm anti,
no,
though.
but it doesn't matter. It does not matter. The same way you want people to be treating their boy children is the same way you should be treating these girl children. You cannot be showing them these things at early ages. I'm sorry, it's very upsetting.
The West Indian is coming out.
It's coming out. It upset me back then. And just
I'm
because you said
upset.
it, like,
That trait,
just,
though.
Oh my gosh.
gosh.
Toronto
So yeah,
Road salty.
on that note, yeah, I wouldn't want my kids to like be exposed
to those
'cause
things.
you're too young.
Exactly.
But then also, like I said, on a more surface level, it's just like kind of weird. But if you want to get your nails painted, okay. Like
It's
I said,
like-
kind of weird. But I mean,
It's-
you're allowed to express who you are and what
It's
you want
just
to be.
opening. I think it's just opening up children to the fact of like, just as we're saying, toxic masculinity, not being toxic.
Yeah,
like
I
just
agree.
understanding that like you don't have like.
I think that, well, okay, on that note, I think there's different ways of exploring that.
Fair.
Because then also, let's just really push the envelope, because that's a lot of things that happened in society. What we're dealing with in society in certain ways is because people kept pushing the envelope. You get to a point where it's like, we really, you can be whatever you want.
The
in terms of
envelope's
your sex.
open.
Then you get to a point where it's like, and we've all experienced this, but no one really wants to talk about it. You go out and you can't tell someone's a male or a female.
The envelope's open. Forget about pushing it. It's open. The envelope is wide open
So,
for everybody.
that's a whole
Everybody's
nother-
putting anything inside the envelope.
So then you just don't know, like, oh, should I, like, sometimes you want to, someone looks good, you want to go talk to them, but you don't know what sex they are because it's all blurred now.
Didn't
So-
we have that problem the other day with What's the Convenience Store?
I didn't know if it was a man or a woman.
I said that's a man. You
I
can't
knew it
tell
was a
the
man.
difference.
I knew it was a man.
But like those things.
So that's once
Well,
you get really
the APA
pushing blurred.
has guidelines for that. So
Listen, I didn't know the APA had guidelines until you just told me the APA had guidelines. So what is that doing for anybody?
Yeah,
They need to be more
guidelines
public
for
with these
that.
things.
If I may interject even more, I would definitely say I think easier way of pushing envelope is like what I did with when I was working with boys. I'll just straight up ask you like, "How's your day? How are you feeling?"
And I don't think they hear that enough.
And they were just like, "Oh, like how it took months of me asking them that before it got to the point where they would come to me and tell me I'm feeling sad today because my mom said I'm good for nothing because I don't have a job right now." And then we would explore those thoughts.
Now,
So,
did anyone do that for you when you were younger?
Yes.
Really?
Not to the extent I do it with the kids, but it was my dad.
Oh,
My
okay.
dad is actually very untraditional as an African man, so I'm half Nigerian, half Trini.
Okay.
And it was my dad who always pushed the concept of communication, conversation. Because
Can I
Is he
just say
Nigerian or Trini?
that's amazing.
Thank you. Sorry,
is he Nigerian or Trinidad?
Nigerian.
That's amazing. That's why I was going to say that's amazing because I've heard stories that like they're very strict with their sons. Like in general, I don't know how true it is, but I have heard that like when it comes to Nigerian culture, they're very strict with their sons. They have a very set role for them that they want them to play.
I would say that's the case with most cultures.
Of course, yeah.
Like-
But like I just heard like it's more so strict. Like
Yeah, well, I mean, like I was talking about it with a friend, and it's like there's like for like any Caucasian household, like you have 3 templates that you're supposed to achieve as a son. You're not supposed to be gay. Don't be a bum. Make money. If you fill out, if you fill out these 3 things, you succeed as a son.
it's
Yes.
true. And give money is the
So
fourth. It's the
true.
bonus. It's
Exactly.
the bonus.
For-
it's like
but
you
for
can't
daughters,
say nothing.
it's like get kids, be the daughter of your family, be the mother of your own family, be the wife to your husband. More or less make money. Like there's a lot more.
There's probably
a lot
yeah,
more things
yeah.
that women.
Our
For us, it's just
our
these
parents
3.
was education first.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
Education
gosh.
Read.
first.
And read.
Read.
But don't read too much where you turn guys off. But just read, just enough.
Just
never-
enough.
They never
Yeah,
told us
don't
that,
read
but, like,
too much.
If any girls' parents told them that, I feel bad for them.
My parents
Mom
were like,
just wanna
go
listen
and read a
necessarily
book and
from,
don't
like-
watch TV. My
Well, not
parents,
just like sorry for interrupting. Not in the sense of like family, but like society. Because it's like when you're more educated, like you guys,
You're
it's
too
harder
smart.
to find men who's like, oh, I don't like.
That's why I'm single.
Whoops, I don't like how she has an opinion. I don't understand how to process this.
Listen,
Well,
if you can't
that's why
process,
I'm
if you
single.
can't take my it's
Among
okay.
other
You'll find
reasons.
somebody. It's okay. You don't have to.
There's a bird out there for everybody.
It's okay.
I'll
But I
find my
understand what
lobster.
you're saying. Like, and that's where I think, unfortunately, like females probably got like. Males probably got the raw end of the deal because, there's a whole feminist movement and females feel like, like our roles need to be changed. We're not
And
supposed
empowered
to be, we're supposed to
and-
be empowered and we're supposed to do this and we're supposed to do that now. But it's like what happens to the guys? Like, they're just supposed to still fit in this 19th century box where they're just, I am Hulk.
Well,
Like,
I can tell you some of the things that happen to the guys, some of the negative outcomes of toxic masculinity.
Oh, do you have some?
I have some negative outcomes.
Let me know.
So, problems with dating and interpersonal intimacy, greater risk of depression and anxiety, abuse of substances, problem with interpersonal violence, so sexual assault and spousal abuse, greater health risks such as high blood pressure, and greater overall psychological distress.
No, Ebba, I'll let you touch this one because I heard the whole list and I feel like everything's accurate, but I'm a female, so.
Can I look at it as I like talk about it?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, my writing's so
the
terrible.
The first one I definitely have to co-sign. I feel like in terms of society, one of the things that affect us is the fact that men don't know how to interact with women, and then women don't know how to interact with men. And I feel that ultimately stems from like lack of father figures. Because
Pause.
women,
I'll just say this much. A majority of women don't know how to communicate with men, but they're maybe.
No.
Maybe
I mean, I
for
have
father.
a girlfriend, so obviously, like there are women. But
Yeah, there are.
I'm speaking general. I'm not going to like X or Y woman from X or Y place. I'm just talking in general from the things I see in society. Fair. Like, there's a lot of like women don't know how to interact with men.
That's
There's
true.
been times where girls think I'm hitting on them because I'm like you remember how you came in? I'm like I like your hair. Some girls are like, oh, he's trying to have sex with me. I'm like.
Like, listen,
Whoa,
what was the first thing? What was the first thing I said? I'm like, thank you, but it's not perfect. Like, I just want to stop the best.
Like,
but okay.
Some girls but that's because they live their whole life.
God.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like there's like
It's
No,
true.
it's so true. I'm laughing because it's true. Like, I'm not laughing because I'm disagreeing with you. Like I'm completely agreeing with you.
I'm like, whoa, like, and it's gotten like me into problems sometimes. Where I'm just like, I'll be like, oh, like, because like not all women will compliment your nails, and you probably did your nails to match with your bag and to match with your jacket, whatever. So I'm good at observing those things.
Just observing the whole situation, like.
Well, it's a double-edged sword for my girlfriend. It's a double-edged sword for my girlfriend because she appreciates when I do it for her, but then she sees me do it to other women.
Listen,
she's like, wait
girl,
a second.
you got a good man on your hands. He ain't going nowhere. He's just being nice. Don't worry.
It's true. I actually don't go outside, so I'm not going anywhere. But like, but yeah. So I feel like men and women have a hard time like connecting because it's just like if you always had like a father telling you you're beautiful, you're smart, you're capable, then like a guy telling your nails are beautiful doesn't automatically mean he wants to have coitus with you. Like it doesn't have to.
I love it. I love
that you said coitus.
I've never been able to interject that in anywhere, and I love how he just did that real smooth. Okay, go.
Welcome to the way I talk. But yeah, it's definitely a thing. And then with men, they don't know how to approach women, and then they don't know how to process rejection because they're not really pushed up in terms of their self-esteem.
Can I just ask, like, why do some guys, I don't know if you know, I just from your personality that I've grasped, I assume you don't do this, but like, why is it so, and Al, you could input in this too, why do some guys automatically get so highly offended and get angry when a girl's like, not interested, like, and in the nicest way possible?
Did you see Captain America: Civil War? Mm-hmm. What happened when Iron Man found out that Winter Soldier killed his parents?
He went to rage. He
Listen,
saw
I got
rage.
2 kids, so I watched this, but like I missed some parts.
But
So I'm gonna be honest.
You see where I'm getting at, right? Mm-hmm. We don't know how to process that.
Emotion.
Your anger, yeah.
So, and if you look at the posters for these, I love the movie Captain America: Civil War, but if you look at the posters of Civil War, Iron Man is mean mugging Cap, and Cap is mean mugging Iron Man. So what do we take about it is it's like, well, if
It's
you disagree,
gonna be a fight.
y'all need to mean mug. Mm-hmm. So that's
Fair.
the way. So yeah, you don't know how to process that rejection, and then also I would say the same. I would flip that in terms of what you said about women not being men not being able to deal with rejection. Mm-hmm. There's many times, and I know you guys know women are like this, where I reject her, and now she's calling me up 45 times.
Mm-hmm.
Forgive
Desperate housewives.
Forgive the term. I was gonna say, those are those crazy women, like that. Just they don't know what they want in life.
Because I'm on the show, you can use the word crazy. I qualify you.
Okay, thank you.
I qualify you as a bipolar person.
Thank you. So
you're fine.
I think it's just like I understand what you mean with that, though. Like,
So-
mixed signals are real, and this is where it comes out, where females like to be like, only men send mixed signals.
I'm gonna wear a sexy outfit and I'm gonna like be in a very compromising pose on Instagram. But don't think I want to be with you.
But don't message me saying how my booty look fat or I look attractive, or don't slide in my DMs, because I'm not about that life.
Even though the way I'm eating a lollipop is kind of weird.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I knew I wasn't the only one seeing these things. You know, obviously it's the men, but I thought the men might be entranced. You know,
No,
this
not
is where
all
the
men
this is
are
where the
hypnotized
toxic
by the
masculinity comes in. Women, we automatically assume these men are in these dark places, but they're not.
But
They're not.
as a disclaimer, like the guy who's saying like your booty looks fat or like sending
Yeah,
you a bunch of
they
heart
in the
emojis,
dark place.
You're
They do.
you're a clown, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to be a clown.
It's okay to be a clown.
She might be a clown with you. Who knows?
Probably not.
Did you have anything to add for the negative outcomes, or were you?
Substance abuse, like a lot of these things, I pretty much agree with, and I've seen a lot with the kids I work with. I feel like the main thing though is the first one, is the whole female male relationship. 'Cause we just don't know how to interact with each other, and then we come in with like preconceived notions about the opposite sex, like, oh, he's only out here to have sex with me, and then with women, and it's like, oh, she only wants me for my money. And it's like, that's
And
not
it
necessarily
carries
the case.
over into everything,
I mean,
too.
even like, I would even say like the social media memes, like, oh, you know, if like, I'll see jokes, it's just like, oh, you know, just because she's with you doesn't mean she has a like, you know, 5 other guys behind waiting to be with her, you know. It's just like, it's always like those sort of things. Like even those memes kind of play with it, you know, like, oh, like I know you guys are seeing it, like, you know, it's like, me or her, he's probably cheating on me right now. Me, and it would be like some joke meme of them like like guys doing some foolishness, and it's just
or in
like-
his bed.
Exactly. It's just like, why is that even a meme? Why does this have to even be a joke of him? He's probably cheating right now. So
It's the misconceptions.
It's a misconception. But there are some facts about men that I think we need to know before we close the show.
Oh.
Men commit 90% of homicides in America. So aggression,
not shocking to me.
not
Yeah,
shocking.
that's not shocking. That goes back to just
You don't know how to process your emotions.
Emotions.
Like, even like I remember, sorry if I interject, there was a point where like I was working with the kids and they're playing video games, and just like was like when they're playing basketball or whatever, they get heated and it
course.
turned into an argument, and they're gonna call up, yeah, and like it was got to the point where like, oh, I'm gonna call the boy them on you, I'm gonna call my mans on you, and I'm just like, chill. And then, you know, I had to like separate them, and I remember I took one of them out, and then one of the things I asked him is like, I understand you're angry, but why are you threatening to cause harm to someone else that looks like you, another young black boy? Like, why are you? And on top of that, so let's say this escalates. Let's say, you know, you
take it
kill-
to the streets.
exactly. And then you're in jail, you get out, you want to get a job. Now, like, it says it on your resume or whatever that, you know, you've been convicted of a crime all over a video game or all over a big
Something
game of
so
basketball.
minuscule.
Or a pair of shoes.
There you go. Like, is that really worth it?
Looking
to
at
stay
your
with you?
girl.
All my J's.
Exactly. So, yeah, homicide, yep, co-signed.
Yeah, men represent 70% of homicide victims. 3.5 men are 3.5 times more likely than women to die by suicide, which we talked about earlier.
I found that shocking when you mentioned it.
Well,
It earlier.
Do you know what I think it is, really? Just speaking as a person who has, you know, attempted suicide previously. 3 years ago, when I was in that position, I, like, number one, prayed to God that I wouldn't die while I was laying on the floor. But number two, I sought help afterwards. Like, I immediately called Grandma Judy, and then I immediately got myself to, you know, the Durham region to get to the hospital to be checked in, you know. I knew there was help out there for me. Whereas men are suffering in silence. That's a part of this toxic traditional masculinity that men are going through and experiencing right now, where they have to suffer in silence. They have to, you know, repress all of their emotions, and that causes anxiety, and that causes stress, and that causes depression. And we know where depression, deep depression, can lead to: suicide, suicidal ideations, or just attempt in suicide or success in suicide. So I really feel that number is a reflection of the fact that women are more free in regards to, who they talk to and when seeking help, and whereas men are a lot more closed off. They're experiencing that stigma. We all, as people with mental health issues and going through mental health conditions and illnesses, experience the stigma, but more so when it comes to depression in men. I feel that there's a lot of stigma there, and it causes men to not disclose what they're going through.
I would also tie a lot of the suicide, because I did read some stuff about that too, probably not to the same depth as you, but in the sense of a lot of masculinity is associated to vigor, but age. Like right now, I can probably lift. Do you have stuff in this ottoman, if I may ask?
Yeah.
You have stuff inside? I can probably lift it by myself. I'm willing to bet I can lift this by myself.
For sure.
Bring it outside, bring it to my car. Right? But I probably won't be able to do this when I'm 60. Right? Am I still a man, though? Even though I can't lift that.
Just even with you saying that, too, like, I watch a lot of murder mysteries. And,
Like too many.
Do you watch
Too
Luther?
many.
Do you watch Luther?
No, but I was supposed to get into it, so I will
We'll talk about that
eventually.
after. Yeah, go
Good.
on.
Yeah, but I watched a murder mystery the other day, and a man was providing for his family at a very young age, probably in like early teens or late teens, actually, and he suffered like a back injury on the job, and he had to resign, and with that happening, he was working at this factory or something for like 25, 30 years. So he was like 50 at this time. And he was, same thing as you were saying, like questioning his masculinity, questioning like he couldn't read, he couldn't write because he got this factory job at a young age. He felt like he couldn't go back to school at such an old age. And, the burden fell on his wife. And then, substance abuse tied into that, and gambling tied into that, addictions tied into that. And then it ended up, unfortunately, to a point where he ended up taking his wife's life because she was going to leave him. And, with everything being said, with not being able to deal with emotions and things like that, like, and vigor, as you just said, like, it does take a toll when men are older. And it's like, it didn't just start when they're older. It would have started when they were younger, as he couldn't read, he couldn't do those things. So like,
I'll make up for it in other ways.
Yeah.
And if I can't now, then am I still a
What
man?
are the other ways? Violence, sometimes. Like,
Like shows of power and strength.
strength, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Domination, like whatever it might. So,
Yeah, that's another thing. Like erectile dysfunction. Are you still a man if you
you
Yeah.
can't get it up? Yeah.
you can't please your woman?
Got to take a rager.
That's a risk of with depression is erectile dysfunction. I read that. I didn't put it in my notes, but I remember it. Let's see, 4.9 years shorter life expectancy in men. Boys are more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD than girls. That one's a fact for me. Like,
I think that's a two-handed thing. I think there's a lot to unpack in that one. Partially, like, boys don't mature as quickly as girls do, and this has nothing to do with double standards. Whatever, I see it with youth. Like I see it. There's girls. Even kids. Like even when I did summer camp, you tell a girl stop doing that. She will stop the first time. Isaiah, stop dribbling the basketball. Isaiah, stop dribbling basketball. Isaiah.
You might have to throw a last name in there.
And then like, Isaiah's like, oh, me.
it never fails. It never fails. Oh, Isaiah, me.
And then that's why I'm like, no, the other Isaiah. Oh, there's another one? No. Yes, you. So, yes, that's a fact, but also I feel like also just on a holistic scheme, because boys don't mature as quickly as girls, and coming from a guy who has a learning disability, I don't feel the academic system is very conducive to boys.
No, automatically you get sent to the remedial class or your ADHD.
It's like
you
want to
said.
do things, you want to move around,
You want to move.
That
you
goes back
wanna
to
go
boys.
Outside. You
Boys
want to
will be boys. That's what it goes back to. And I think
and also that's kind of penalized. It's like, oh, why can't you sit down like the other
girls or
It's
the other
like,
people?
Well, he needs to move. He wants to move around, and because he doesn't mature as quickly, he still has the mind of a 3-year-old.
I think that also goes back to what you were saying too, with the whole when we're babies, we're just of one mind, like in the nurture thing. Like,
Yeah, it's nurture.
boys are nurtured to be roughhousing and doing all these things, and
Playing
playing
sports,
sports and all,
getting
being
dirty.
active. They're never fine tuned to be like, oh, education is a thing. Like, if you fail in I'm being broad, but I always hear if you fail in education, you could be a basketball player for for African American men or whatever. You could play a sport or stuff like that. But
or get into music.
get into music, be a producer, and
Entertainer.
so it's like
That's what we've been relegated to. So, anyways.
we're entertaining.
Yeah, we
You-
are.
you guys are
There are
entertaining.
4 black people here
Right
right
here, and
now,
we're all
and we're
entertaining.
all awesome. So,
Fair enough.
that is what it is. Last little fact. Currently, that we are aware of, I put in brackets, 6 million men suffer from depression in America. I think it's much higher than that.
Much higher.
I think it's
I went through
substantially.
I went through depression. In
Yeah.
the sense of like when my dad's health was like deteriorating and stuff, and never mind he's stable now, but there was a point where I went through a depression, and there's like, and just to really like just to wrap things up in terms of this whole conversation, there's been a lot of things I experienced that I didn't process that women go through that I was going through. Like in terms of my workspace, it took I think it took me like a whole year to process that I was being harassed in my workspace by women because
I told you that when we
Yeah,
talked. When we
exactly.
sat down, like,
I
you're being
didn't process
harassed.
that because whenever like even like when you look at the slideshows in the workplace, right?
It's
Like,
always
It's all
a man.
women.
It's always a
when
man
you see sexual
harassing.
harassment, you never see, oh well, he doesn't want to get with me, so now I'm going to try to get him fired. Like you don't deal with that. You're not exposed to that. Those are things that. So when I'm dealing with it, I didn't process that. It didn't make sense because I'm a man. I'm not being sexually harassed. Like what can she do?
Yeah.
It's like a man. Like he can follow you home. Like it's a real threat.
Girl, listen.
What's a girl gonna
Some
do?
females can follow you home. Remember that
Some
song?
females
Remember
will
that song?
boil your bunny. They
Remember
don't
that
even
song?
care.
Run for your life. She cut you with a knife.
Yeah.
Or even just like my friend was making a joke, like, you break up with a girl, and it's like, oh, I think we need to break up. And she's like, no, we're not.
No, we're not.
No, we're not.
What?
No, we're not.
What?
Do you
No, we're
do you
not.
like jail?
Right?
Do you like jail?
Like, you ever seen a thin line between love and hate when the girl Martin Lawrence, she beat herself with an orange? Like, you don't know what girls are capable of. Like, women are dangerous. I'm a woman. I know what I'm talking about.
Some of us are
Or even like,
Dangerous.
I went through abuse. Not obviously this relationship, one before. I was abused. And I didn't, it took my best friend. It took her being like, you're being abused, right? For me to be like,
Really?
Are you sure?
I'm dead honest.
No.
Because like, she's like 5'2".
Listen,
I'm a
it's-
6 foot tall black
it's
man, so it's
real.
just hard for me to kind of
Manipulation, all those things.
No, she hit me too, but like I didn't.
Oh, she had hands. She threw hands.
She slapped me on the 401.
She slapped you
my
on the
God.
401.
Yeah, so
While
like,
you were driving?
yeah, while I was
Oh,
Oh,
gosh.
oh,
She wants to die.
She's one of those girls that's like, we died together today.
Boom.
bingo. So like it took me time to like really process that because like that's not what we're taught to think about. And it took, like I said, her being like, I think you're being abused, and then when I say I think, you are.
You are.
Definitely.
So yeah, there's a lot of things that we don't really explore. So
Well, do we have any final thoughts on toxic masculinity before I close?
The only thing I could say is we gotta raise better boys into better men. Like, forget the Gillette commercial. They're not doing it. Okay, they're trying to cover up and make it feel like they're doing
Sunshine
something,
and happiness.
but they're not. Like, we gotta take it upon ourselves, especially me as a parent. Like, I don't have boys. Want a boy. Who knows the future? But like, we gotta train our boy children to be better. We got to train them that it's okay to have emotions, that it's okay to cry, it's okay to feel. Like, just, it's okay. Everything that people have told you in
It's
the past
okay
is
to
not
be
okay.
okay.
It's okay to not be exactly.
Yeah.
It's okay to not be okay.
Have any final thoughts?
got tons, but I'll make
Ooh.
it quick. To go
Give
back
me
on
the
your
tons. This has been a very
It's been very
enriching,
eventful.
Oh.
very enriching conversation. So we're not ending it until it's done.
Fair enough. I would say definitely one is, in order for like toxic masculinity to really shift, it requires conversation. And I feel that, and this is coming from someone who has experienced this, in the sense of we need to bring more men who are willing to have these conversations at the table, because men aren't really, typically in society, men aren't really honored. I'm going to dig deep into both of you guys. Whenever we get close to, I think, is it the second weekend of May, or is it the first weekend of May of Mother's Day? Second weekend?
Second weekend of May.
As soon as we hit May 1st, there's ads on everything, everywhere. How much do you see that on Father's Day?
Never.
Not at all.
Music. The only person I can think of at the top of my head right now who has a song honoring his father or their father is Nas.
And Luther
Vandross.
But how often do you hear it? Even in terms of entertainers
and
that have both parents, it tends to be,
I was gonna say stereotypically, it's the mother, or
women
they
need to be
they
acknowledged because they're sensitive and this and that. But then,
or
not.
even just to be like
Papa was a
stereotypical
Rolling
with
Stone.
like just to be stereotypical with like everybody's society's norms. Like they always just assume, like for artists, that like African American males don't have a father figure. It's just a broad like assumption.
Just a sweeping assumption.
Yeah, like it's just like, oh, if I bet you if any rapper was to sing about their father, or any R&B player was to sing about their father, they'd be like, what? Everyone would be like,
what are you talking about?
Like what? Like,
well, actually, the baby actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
his intro.
Kirk, talks about his dad. Yeah,
Talk about it. I love intro. I love the intro.
Yeah, so that's a thing where he talks about his dad and how he passed on, and that was the same day. Like he became a Billboard 100 the same day his dad passed.
Yeah, and how he still
And that's why his
maintained
album,
and
for his fans.
for
and
his
whatnot.
fans.
You know,
Yeah.
so like these are the sort of things I like. So even for me, in terms of the stuff I did with youth and kids, the few things I've gotten, I've made sure to keep them. Because I know, ultimately, in terms of my life career and what I do, I'm rarely going to be honored for what I do simply because I'm a man. Is this the reality of what is right now?
Which is unfortunate,
I'm
but
not really going to get a lot of thank yous or
recognition.
Someone to give me, it's not really going to happen. But if a woman does the same thing, oh, she's so wonderful, she's here for us, black women, nothing wrong with that. But it's like, but like for me, I'm never really going to get that.
no one's about. Everyone's always about female empowerment, and no one's about male empowerment. Like.
So,
you know what?
We need to be more empowering than males.
I'm not going to say for the rest of my life before I, meet a man and then they're like, hey, you didn't do it, because now I'm on the internet. But anytime I see a man and they're doing good in life, I'm going to be like, listen, I see you, I recognize you, and you are honored. Because, like, they don't hear it enough.
We could start with Eb. I see you.
I see you, I hear you, and
Recognize
you are
you.
honored.
I see you.
I recognize you. I recognize you. You are honored. You both are honored.
What's that thing from the house?
You is kind. You is smart. You is important. I just wanted to let you guys know.
we appreciate it. I think you speak on behalf of everyone. Can I say, yeah, of course. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Listen, you females got to do better. I'm not dogging on the females, but you guys got to do better.
And our men got to do better by our boys.
Tell your dad, tell your brother, tell your son, tell your father,
your uncle.
You're honored, and you're appreciated. It's necessary.
All right, B. This is your shining moment.
Is it my time?
It's your time. It's your time. I think that I'm gonna let the dish end with what Eb just said, because I thought it was very profound and very deep. So,
It was.
Let them know how they can reach Eb.
If you want to reach myself, Onika, or Eb, you can reach us at Dysh. That's DYSH at daintydysh.com. That's DAINTY DYASH, oh my gosh, .com. If you are listening to us on Apple Podcasts,
give us 505.
And if you are listening to us on any other platform, thank you. And if you want to hit us up on social media, so my social media would be That Mother Bad XO, and Onika's social media would be Best of Onika. And Eb, if you want to say your social media handle,
Black Nerds Talk. All different words. There's no ebonics in it. The S
straight,
is an S, not a Z.
straight
just
to the
straight letters. Just normal
straight.
letters.
The English Queen's Language, Black Nerds Talk.
Bingo.
So that's what it is. Did I do
Thank
good?
you. You did good, B.
I think next week
it needs a screech of polishing, but
little
a
polish,
screech of
little polish.
polishing. But we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. Baby
right,
steps.
Seth.
Baby steps. Well, that has been the dish of the day, and I hope y'all have yourselves a very, very, very happy hump day.